On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour is not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars of water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it to him. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine, did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the servant called to the bridegroom and said to him, Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now?" Jesus did this, the first of his signs, in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you.
President James A. Garfield once said, "The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable." With all due respect to our nation's 20th president, he hasn't read his Bible closely enough. In the Gospel of John, Jesus does 7 miraculous signs that reveal what it means for Jesus to be divine, what it means for God's reign to be coming and arriving here on earth. He heals the sick and the disabled. He raises the dead. He walks on water to comfort the scared. He feeds the hungry crowds and brings extra alcohol to the party. Which of these miracles isn't like the other? Compared to Jesus' other miracles where he relieves suffering and restores life, today's gospel almost seems like frivolous. There's nothing life and death in today's gospel. The crisis in today's gospel is that the wine ran out at a wedding banquet. The hosts might be a little embarrassed, but everyone is going to survive. There's just going to be a little less revelry and a little less merrymaking than expected at this wedding banquet. So why is this the moment that Jesus decides to do his first miracle? Surely something more dramatic or urgent has happened in his life up to this point. Why does Jesus decide that the first time to do something miraculous is at a party without enough alcohol? There's no sugarcoating today's gospel. Today's gospel documents people drinking well past excess. The wedding steward explains that the plan was to get people tasty wine to get them drunk, and then cheap swill once they're too drunk to know the difference. So Jesus supports this sort of festivities? Throughout the New Testament, there's numerous stories about wedding celebrations. Like in Matthew 22, Jesus tells a parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a wedding banquet. The kingdom of heaven is like a raucous party. Over my years here, I've heard Ron Peterson describe atonement numerous times as sitting at the intersection of faith and fun. In today's gospel, we see Jesus showing that God's reign occurs here at the intersection of faith and of fun. Jesus provides more alcohol at the wedding of Cana as a sign of what God's reign is like. It's full of life and of joy. Biblical scholar Elizabeth Johnson puts it well. The sign of Jesus changing water into wine at Cana points us to something far more valuable than the wine itself. It points to the source of all life and joy. Today's gospel never calls Jesus turning water into wine a miracle. Instead, it calls what Jesus did a sign. Turning the water into wine is a sign. It points to what Jesus is about and what God's reign is like. Jesus came to bring God's reign. Jesus came bringing joy, fullness, and life into the world. I've heard this false dichotomy brought up a lot lately about how we can respond to this current pandemic, either by working to prevent COVID spread and preserving life on one hand, or taking risks and enjoying our life and then kind of ignoring the pandemic on the other hand. This is a false dichotomy. This is a false choice we're presented. We don't have to choose between being on the side of life or on the side of joy and happiness. With these other signs throughout the Gospel of John, we see Jesus coming, bringing healing and life. And today we see Jesus coming to bring joy. Jesus brings a joy that surprises and bursts forth, even when we don't expect it or see it coming. When the wine ran out, people assumed their fun for the night was over. With this current wave of COVID, it's tempting to feel like we have to put our fun and our joy and our good life on hold for the time being until some future time where we can experience joy and live a full life. Right when the wine ran out and people gave up on the night, Jesus showed up and shared even greater joy with them. God's joy continues to burst forth like that today still. You don't have to wait for some future normal time to have fun or to feel fulfilled. President Garfield is wrong. The truth sets us free, and this is the same truth that gives us joy and life and not misery. God's joy is available to you now. We don't have to wait for some future point for the pandemic to end for God's joy to be present. Two of my favorite moments here at church happened during the pandemic, in fact. One was our recent Advent festival where people of all ages gathered together in our fellowship hall and made festive crafts together. The other was the previous Advent season where we had a live nativity outside over by the education wing where we had lots of animals you'd expect and lots of random animals like a llama and a Highland cow and a surprisingly cuddly skunk. Neither of these moments were obviously churchy, but both of these moments were filled with community, with fun, with joyous time together. In today's gospel, Jesus reveals the kingdom of heaven is like that. Our time laughing in growth groups and in our ELCA circles and in our other communities are sacred time. So we get ready in about a month to go to, or a little over a month now, to go to Fort Wilderness. We know that our youth sledding at Fort Wilderness and ice skating and playing games outside is sacred time. I recently completed the annual survey that all the clergy have to do in our synod for our bishop. And one of the questions on the form was, where do you find joy in life? My mother-in-law gave Alyssa and me a bird feeder as a housewarming gift when we bought our house last year. Truthfully, getting a bird feeder at the time wasn't a gift that did a whole lot for me. So I smiled and said thank you and didn't expect to hang it up. However, when filling out this survey, one of the first things that came to my mind was watching the cardinals and the finches and the songbirds outside my window each day. It wasn't until this winter that I noticed how much joy and life and beauty I just see on the other side of my window. So that's the first thing I wrote down in this survey. Where has God's joy been sneaking up on you lately? And where has fullness of joy and life been bursting forth for you? If you're online today, maybe take a picture off your photo reel and throw it in our comments so we can see where you've been experiencing joy lately. And if you're here in our sanctuary, maybe on the way out, share that with a friend and ask them, where have you been encountering joy lately? This week, may your cup be filled. May your heart be strengthened. May you have eyes to see the signs of God's joy and new life bursting forth in our world and in your life. Amen.